Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you today in Kaunas. As was already kindly introduced, I'm from Organics Europe, which is the European umbrella organization for organic farming. What does this mean? We have around 200 members in 34 European countries, and we are representing the whole organic supply chain. So from research institutes to organic certification bodies, organic farmers, processors, and retailers, they are all members of Organics Europe, and we are representing their voice towards policymakers, and we are based in Brussels. There are 4 principles of organic agriculture, and IFOM is based on those. That's health, ecology, fairness, and care. But I'm here to talk about what are the benefits that organic can provide. And at the moment we are in an important political situation. We had European elections in June, a new commission is forming at the moment, and there are also plans for agriculture. We can expect a vision for the future of agriculture. So we have to ask ourselves, how should the future of agriculture look like? What type of agriculture do we want by 2030, but also beyond that? And one answer could be, we further intensify agriculture. We further industrialize agriculture. But we've seen in the past what impact this can have. Agriculture at the moment is responsible for 11% of greenhouse gas emissions. We see a global decline in pollinator population by 40%. And if we look at our soils, they are not in a good condition. 60 to 70% of soils in the EU are unhealthy, and this also comes with a cost. 50 billion euros per year are lost due to soil degradation. And for many of these aspects, industrial intensive agriculture is one of the main drivers. But luckily, we also have another option ready. It's to move towards an agroecological intensification. And this is where organic agriculture comes into the picture. We've heard before from the previous speaker about the climate crisis. And at the same time, we also have a biodiversity crisis. And it's very important to know that these two are highly interlinked. And we can't only focus on solutions for either or, and we have to think the two of them together. And that's what organic agriculture already does. It's a systemic approach to farming. It integrates beneficial management practices for soil, biodiversity. It takes a holistic view on livestock. And this leads to a number of benefits for climate and biodiversity. But let's dive a bit more into it. We can see that on an average organic farm, we have 30% more biodiversity compared to a conventional farm. So this applies to above ground diversity, so there are more plants, more diverse plants, more pollinators, which is very crucial. They have a very crucial function for food production, of course. So we have around 23% more pollinators, 30% more insects. But this is also the case for below ground diversity, so soil bacteria, earthworms, etc. So organic farming also has a positive impact on soil microbes and microbial communities. And a very important aspect, responding also to the presentation from before, is the climate mitigation benefits. Instead of relying on synthetic inputs, synthetic fertilizers, synthetic pesticides, organic farming aims to close nutrient cycles. That means that all greenhouse gas emissions that occur during the production of synthetic inputs are avoided. At the same time, it has a higher energy efficiency, uses less energy per hectare, and due to the multiple beneficial management practices, it also stores more carbon in soils. So if we would add that up, the reduced emissions, the carbon sequestration, we get an average climate protection performance of more than 1,000 kilograms CO2 per hectare per year. But not only mitigation is important in agriculture, climate adaptation is a very crucial issue because weather patterns are changing everywhere. We have more and more severe extreme weather events. And by increasing biodiversity, working with more healthier soils, more carbon in soils, that also contributes to a more resilient farming system. So biodiversity helps for pest control, healthier soils that can capture more water, support plant growth also during drought conditions. And we can see that during drought periods, organic farming performs in many cases better than conventional farming just because the soils are healthier. And yeah, that brings me to the very important point of soil benefits. Soil has always been a cornerstone of organic farming. So the organic pioneers, one of the objectives was how do we improve soil health. This can also be seen like one of the first organic associations in the UK is called the Soil Association, for example. And organic has a unique approach to develop soil health. There are many practices like cover crops, organic amendments, crop rotations, and improving tillage that have a positive impact on soil health. There are a few aspects I would like to highlight. That's soil organic matter. So we can see that on organic farms we have increasing organic matter in soils, and that improves the soil structure. And why is that important? An improved soil structure helps to promote plant growth, and it is also a habitat for soil microorganisms. And as already mentioned before, if I improve soil organic matter and structure, it also helps to retain water in soils. And that's then beneficial, especially during drought periods, if I can retain more water in soils. There is more carbon in soils on organic farm, which is important for climate mitigation as well. And we see that the stocks are higher, but also the sequestration rate, so more than 450 kilograms carbon per hectare per year are sequestered additionally on organic farms compared to conventional farms. And there is a number of practices that contribute to that. So that's using organic fertilizer, improving the crop varieties that are used, including legumes in crop rotations, and working on tillage, how to improve tillage and reduce tillage if possible, and also planting cover crops. And improved soil health and soil structure also have impact on soil erosion. So the surface runoff can be reduced on average on organic farms by more than 20%. And that's important because if there is a high surface runoff, that means also a lot of topsoil is lost, and this is very rich in nutrients and organic matter. And also soil erosion can be reduced by 26%. So by having a more healthier soil, it's less prone to water or wind erosion. And one other important aspect is water resilience and water quality. And how does organic contribute to that? One of the organic principles is to not use synthetic pesticides and to work with other means to protect plant health. And that means consequently that if no synthetic pesticides are used, those pesticides can also not reach water bodies. So by not using synthetic pesticides, we avoid the pollution of of water bodies with synthetic pesticides. And by this also avoiding a cost to society, because pollution always comes with a cost. Organic farming also has its approach to animal health and animal welfare, taking into account the One Health approach, so animal, human and environmental health. And the focus lies on strengthening the immune system of animals and to not use antimicrobials as a generic routine. So this results in less need for treatment, it reduces the risk of antimicrobial resistance, and it also, of course, reduces the risk of polluting water with medication antimicrobial, because the use of it is reduced. And one important aspect is also the use of fertilizer and therefore nitrate leaching. So in organic farming, no synthetic fertilizer can be used, and the focus lies on closing the nutrient cycle. So to not rely on external inputs, but to close nutrient cycles and use manure and organic fertilizer for supporting soil fertility. And using practices like legumes, winter intercrops, etc., to build this soil fertility. And this approach also leads to less nitrate leaching into water bodies by 28 to 39%. And that's important because nitrate leaching into groundwater means that water bodies have less oxygen and therefore also less life. So a lot of animals, plants, etc. can't live if there is a too high leaching into groundwater. So the organic approach is a systemic approach. So instead of focusing on maximizing certain aspects, it aims to maximize and to work on a variety of aspects. So it's about yields, of course, but not only. It's about improving the soil quality, it's about minimizing water pollution, biodiversity, energy use, maximizing ecosystem services, but also reducing the exposure to pesticides, which is beneficial for the health of farmers and farm workers, and of course also the profitability. Like everyone who runs a farm also needs to make money out of it, of course. So what do we need in order to maximize and to harness the benefits that organic farming can provide for biodiversity and climate? So we can see it can be an answer for a lot of the objectives that we have set ourselves in terms of climate policy and environmental policy. But in order to develop and to deliver on it, we need policies that on the one hand make it attractive for farmers to convert to organic farming, to remunerate them adequately and fairly for the ecosystem services that they provide, but also to support consumers to make organic food more accessible by looking into how can we incorporate the true cost of our food into the price of food, and to use public policy tools like, for example, sustainable public procurement, which means it's all the food that's provided in hospitals, schools, etc. How can we increase the share of organic food there and make it more accessible for the consumer? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hanna.